And this week, our top story is the NATO summit that was held earlier this week. Now, NATO started out in 1949 with just 12 countries as its members. Over the years, it has expanded to the 29-nation bloc that it is today. But the differences that are threatening to tear it apart were in full view of the world in the form of some heated exchanges between the presidents of the United States of America and France. It also led to US President Donald Trump cutting short his trip.
Hours before the 70th anniversary summit of the NATO alliance, presidents of France and the US clashed with each other over Syria, Turkey, import tariffs, and the future of the Western alliance. Launching a pre-summit broadside, US President Donald Trump called the comments of French counterpart Emmanuel Macron nasty and very insulting. This was in response to Macron stating last month that NATO was suffering brain death. In retaliation, Trump said NATO serves a great purpose and France is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the alliance.
Well, I think it clearly meant that the organization is suffering from a lack of resources because President Trump has been threatening to cut down the US contribution to NATO. And when the contributions dry up, then naturally NATO will suffer. And I think the indication which President Macron was making was that resources are going to be a problem and hence NATO will be brain dead.
It's a tough statement, though, when you make a statement like that. That is a very, very nasty statement to essentially 28, including them, 28 countries. I think that you have a very high unemployment rate in France. France is not doing well economically at all. They're starting to tax other people's products, so therefore we go and tax them. It's just taking place right now on technology, and we're doing their wines and everything else. And it's a very tough statement to make when you have such difficulty in France. You look at what's happened with the yellow vests, or you look at what's going on during certain parts of their season. They've had a very rough year. And you just can't go around making statements like that about NATO. It's very disrespectful. Nobody needs NATO more than France. And frankly, the one that benefits really the least is the United States. We benefit the least. We're helping Europe. Europe unites and they go against a common foe. That may or may not be a foe. Can't tell you that. But there are other foes out there also. But I think nobody needs it more than France, and that's why I think that when France makes a statement like they made about NATO, it's a very dangerous statement for them to make.
The French president, on the other hand, stood by his comments about the health of NATO. He firmly expressed his frustration that the US president withdrew hundreds of American troops from Syria in October without consulting NATO allies, and which gave Turkey a green light to launch operations against Syrian Kurdish forces, who played a key role in clearing up a huge swath of Syria of the Islamic State.
And I'm sorry to say that we don't have the same definition of terrorism around the table. When I look at Turkey, they now are fighting against those who fight with us, who fought with us, shoulder to shoulder against ISIS. And sometimes they work with ISIS proxies. This is an issue, and this is a strategic issue. If we just have discussion about what we pay, and we don't have clear discussions about such a situation, we are not serious. We are not serious for our soldiers, we are not serious for our people.
See, brain dead means that there is not much thinking behind NATO. Now, in one or two instances, in, say, Syria, NATO members were backing one particular group of Kurds, etc., which was fighting Islamic State, ISIL. And suddenly, President Trump removed the American troops and made it difficult for Kurds to function. And he did not have any consultation with NATO members. So at some Mr. Macron feels that there is not enough thinking, common thinking, among the 29 members of NATO, and that's why it's calling NATO brain dead.
However, hours after the broadside, Macron and Trump sat side by side for a one-on-one meeting. The US president struck a warmer tone, stressing that the two countries had done a lot of good things together as partners.
We'll be talking about a lot of things, including NATO and including trade. We do a lot of trade with France. We have a minor dispute. I think we'll probably be able to work it out. But we have a big trade relationship, and I'm sure that within a short period of time, things will be looking very rosy, we hope.
But Trump's diplomatic tone came just hours after he announced new tariffs on French champagne, wine, cheese and other products totaling $2.4 billion, saying the digital service tax France is imposing on US tech giants like Facebook, Google and Twitter is unacceptable. Although NATO leaders sought to make a show of unity as they met to conclude their annual summit on Wednesday, the celebration of NATO's 70th birthday was completely overshadowed by bitter rows over Turkey, Syria, money and the future strategy of the alliance. Bureau Report, Rajat.